To stay alive, trying to find me shorty and make her mine. Now I'll find one in no time. With the help of my homies, I'm going out with my bros. With my
All right, bruh fans, here we go. Season 1, Episode 20 review. In the past. Synopsis: Mike and Pamela set ground rules for their new relationship. Regina goes to Alice for advice, and John checks on Bill and tells him about Regina's plans. Now make sure you give this video a thumbs up, hit the bell notification icon and select all. That way you don't miss out when I post new content. And make sure you follow me on my various social media platforms. Links are in the description below. Let me say this has been the best episode in the past few weeks. You know how I felt about episode 17 being absolute filler, episode 18 only being slightly better because it did make me chuckle a couple of times, and episode 19 last week, episode 20, I thought it was pretty solid except for like the last scene, because yeah, other than that I think this was a pretty solid episode. So we have 3 locations, technically 4 if you count the Tom cameo. Basically the first about 5 to 6 minutes we have Pam coming over to Mike's loft after the wedding, just to kind of give him a recap that you know, the wedding was, well, better once Bill and the guys actually left. And basically the point of this scene is Pam and Mike talking about their potential relationship. Pam starts off saying that she talked with David and said that, you know, I don't want to see you anymore. Basically David being the guy that Mike has interrupted twice already on various dates with Pamela, once at the restaurant slash bar, and then at the wedding. And to be honest, I kind of wish we would have seen that conversation between Pam and David, because I think David dodged a bullet. I mean, if Pam wants to choose the guy, I mean, I feel like Pam choosing Mike over anyone else we've seen her with is almost the equivalent of Karen choosing Aaron over Zach, despite all the crazy stuff that his ex's family has put her through. And then you're looking at Mike's antics, yet Pam still decides to go with him. Yeah, I kind of take this a little bit personally. That's probably why I give a lot of negativity towards the Pam and Mike relationship, just because it reminds me of college or high school, where I'm the nice guy, but then my friend who's just the asshole gets the girl every single time. I don't know, must be the looks thing, whatever. But in any case, to kind of go over, as the synopsis said, some ground rules about the relationship. Basically, for lack of a better phrase, cutting off ties with any previous, I guess you could say, like, one night stands, or basically the various women that Mike talks to, or the men that Pam talks to, when, you know, Pam's like, okay, well, we'll be serious about us being together one-on-one, and we'll get tested together in regards to, like, you know, STDs and whatnot. And basically she's laying out some very reasonable rules, and Mike's smiling the whole time. And as Pam points out, she's not 100% sure if Mike is really all in, but it's just one of those things where they'll have to wait and see. And I guess, again, another nod to the sisters' continuity is Pam brings up Andrea or Andy. It's like, Mike, you talk about her a lot. What about her? You going to talk to her again or what? It's like, no, don't you worry about it. That's in the past. Oh yeah, that's why the title of the episode is In the Past. And too bad we never got to see any of those scenes where Mike talked about Andy. Oh well. So in any case, after that, Pam's like, make love to me, and then they pretty much go for it off screen. All right, moving on. We go over to Regina going over to the sandwich shop before opening hours. She's talking with Miss Alice. This was probably the best episode for Alice, because Tyler could have easily had her just going on with raunchy and cringy, over-sexified, I don't even know if that's a word, over-sexified dialogue to make it awkward. But this was a great scene, and it was pretty much Alice once again telling, and I mean, kind of like a new way, Regina pretty much breaking down the scenario. I'm at peace for calling off the wedding, even though Peter might sue me for calling it off. But it turns out the wedding itself was $178,000, with her wedding dress being $50,000 alone, which she's put that into storage. Basically, she's thinking about moving to LA. She has a friend out there, kind of like starting over. But I just love how Alice gives good advice about running away from your troubles, because even though she doesn't say it outright, it's pretty clear Regina called off the wedding due to Bill. And then Alice kind of takes it to that direction that, I was glad she didn't take it into originally asking about, between Peter and Peter and Bill, who has the better, golf club. Look, this channel is not BET Plus, so I will refrain from using certain words unless necessary. But in any case, I get why Alice was confused, because at first it's like, oh, Peter, a little punk, gonna sue you $178,000. Look, again, this just shows my ignorance, because I've been single for a long time and I've had a lot of friends who've gotten married. So I don't really know the cost of a wedding, but then again, to be fair, they did kind of whip it together. What was it? Because 1 minute it's like, oh, we're getting married like in a month or a week or whatever. But then the next thing you know, oh, we're getting married tomorrow. So I don't know I don't know what goes into the cost and everything. I did watch Love is Blind, but at the same time, the couples didn't have to pay for everything. They had a budget to work on, but then after that, they had to come out of pocket. But regardless, I don't know. I love Miss Alice. She has some of the best lines. Like $50,000 for a wedding dress. What? It better turn to a brick house after the wedding. Like, I get it. But then again, this is my ignorance as a single man, because I talked to some of my friends who are either married, or they've been in a long-term relationship, or they're engaged. And I know a couple of guys, they told me they, were saving up for an engagement ring since like high school. But these were like guys who, thought about getting married, at some point. Most of them found their wives at Liberty, and I didn't find shit, but whatever. So I just think about like how much money goes into like an engagement ring, and then the venue and all this other stuff. I see why some people just go, what do they say? They just go to the justice of the peace, or they, get their marriage license, and then they hold a wedding like outside or whatever, in the backyard or whatever, make it look all nice. Or they rent out like a country club, or just just something that's reasonable. Because to me, and this is again just a single guy talking, with the student loan debt I got, that thank the Lord if YouTube and my other venues outside of it continue to bring in money the way it is now, maybe within the next couple of years I can pay everything off and whatnot. But I just thinking about $178,000 and what I could do with that money. Like, that would be a house and everything. Like, it's almost like prom, people who just go out all out with the limos and everything for one night of their life. Like, I remember the suit I wore to prom. I still have it, even though I can't fit it the same. But it's like, I'd rather buy something that will have lasting properties as opposed to buying something that's a one and done thing. Though a wedding day is very important. Who's to say that if money is right for me, if I get to that stage in my life, that I wouldn't go all out. But at the same time, I would be practical about it. But again, that's just a single man's rant about spending almost $200,000 on a wedding. And if I were Peter, I don't blame him for suing. All right, so John walks in. He basically gets attacked for just asking an innocent question about, wait, so are you okay about the wedding? The fact that you called it off. And then Regina kind of gets on his tail about it. And then she ends up going to the restroom. And then they make jokes about how, yeah, she wants to go in there and reminisce. And this is where the episode kind of falls flat for me in regards of just dragging things out. But again, I really did like this episode more than the last three. And I think that overall, over half of it was really good, with the back half being kind of slow. So, we get the Alice and John exchange over, Alice, selling spoiled sandwiches, and John's like, no, we're going to put out an order, get some fresh food. Okay, I didn't really mind that. That was pretty funny. But then we get a Tom in the hospital. I thought Valerie or the chief was going to come into the room in a second, but Tom gets a phone call from John, basically saying that they'll check on Bill later in the day, given the events of last night. And John basically, actually, here's something. Tom apparently heard that Regina called off the wedding, and I'm wondering, how did he hear about it? But then again, it does seem to be a small world in this show where everybody knows damn near everybody. So Tom probably heard it from a coworker or something along those lines. But in any case, Alice had told John about the whole situation of Regina moving away and everything, and it being about Bill, even though she doesn't want to admit it. And then John's like, well, I gotta tell Bill. And then Alice is like, don't you tell that man that stuff. And it's like, John is like, well, that's my friend. I'm just thinking to myself, John, you literally saw everything that went down. Well, except when, well, you know, I didn't mention this in the last episode review. In episode 19 at the beginning, we had Tom and John helping Bill. And I'm just like, so when did y'all come in, before or after he got his ass whooped? Like, where were you guys at the end of episode 18? I don't know. But in any case, yeah, this is where the episode just stopped making sense for me. So, you know, John's telling Tom about how, Regina's leaving everything, and then I want to see Bill and tell him. And then Tom's like, be careful with that information. It's like, no, I am, but he needs to know. I'm thinking, okay, John, this, I don't know if this ranks up there with you taking the drug money from Leon, but this was a pretty dumb idea just for the sake of moving the plot along. But then again, I will wait until episode 21. But then again, I will say this much. I hope it isn't episode 21 dragging, and then like the last 2 minutes of the episode or last 30 seconds or the cliffhanger will have Bill roll up to the sandwich shop to see Regina, which honestly would kind of be fitting when you think about it, because the way Regina saw Bill for the first time in this series was in the sandwich shop when Bill was actually trying to avoid her. And then to actually have Bill come down there to kind of stop her from moving to LA, that would be pretty interesting as well. So kind of comes around full circle. So in any case, we go over to John going to see Bill, who's pretty much been drinking probably all night, probably all morning. And again, this was definitely the weakest scene of the episode, where John is trying to tell Bill what's going on, but he basically says, Bill, I'm trying to tell you something like 20 times. And then he just makes up all kinds of excuses of why he's not listening, even down to bad singing. And John pretty much comes out and says Regina didn't get married. She's leaving to LA. She's about to go to the airport and everything. I'm thinking to myself, when she was talking to Alice, it didn't seem like she was fully packed and ready to go. It seemed like she was entertaining the idea of leaving, you know, pretty much dealing with the, Peter might sue me and I think I need to get out of here. And then Alice, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier in the video, but my favorite bit from her was, even if you move away, your problems aren't going to go away. Like, you know, they'll find you eventually. So that's actually very good advice. But yeah, John pretty much, I don't know. I guess John telling Bill about Regina, like leaving and everything right away, it's almost the blowing it out of proportion. It's like the equivalent of, you know, that meme that always floats around, but it still makes me laugh because of how accurate it is. When it's like, hey mom, can you wake me up at 8 o'clock in the morning? And then it's like Shrek at 6:30 opening the door, rise and shine. I'm like, what the hell? That's pretty much John right now. And then it's like, John, I understand you calling out Bill for stinking and everything and not going down there the way he should, but you telling him that Regina's at the sandwich shop and she's about to leave for the airport and everything, you're going to make him take time to take a bath and get dressed and everything. I'm not saying he doesn't need to do that, but it's like, if I were Bill, you know, I think he would rush down there. I mean, remember, for the wedding, he went out and got a horse, borrowed Tom's tux and everything, went to the hospital, got out of the hospital, went to the wedding hall. Yeah, a lot of things really don't make sense. But again, don't let my critique make it seem like I hated the episode. If I could just eliminate the entire final scene between John and Bill, this would be a pretty solid episode. But since we can't, that's about like a 5-minute run. That's like about 30% of the episode, give or take. Because from the moment John says to his mom that I'm going to tell Bill, I'm like, what the hell are you thinking? Seriously. So what would I rate the episode? I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10. Like I said, I really did enjoy it, except for the last part. So with that being said, we have 21, 22, 23, 24. I believe 4 episodes left. We are almost done with season 1 of Bruh. I just hope that the last few episodes continue with this decent quality. Just less dragging in certain scenes, but I do think it was a pretty damn good. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below of what you thought of this episode in the past. Do you think Mike will actually be committed to Pam, or do you think that his ego will get in the way somehow? I think what will be a great ultimate test is, let's say if these two can, actually start dating for real. And then they both get kind of bombarded with guys and girls from the past, girls coming up to Mike or guys coming up to Pam or whatever. It's like Mike saying that he's cut everybody off, but then there might be somebody who just pops up. You never know. I think that'll be a great way to write in test for this new couple. So with that being said, as always, I appreciate the support on the channel. And if you would like to donate, feel free to do so on PayPal, Cash App, or join me on Patreon for as little as $1 a month.